and so she comes and offers her prayers. So that's reference to chapter 65. So while Balaram was in Vrindavan, visiting the residents of Vrindavan, something else happened. There was another pastime that Krishna performed, chapter 66, where the Pondraka was killed. So we didn't hear that one because we're focusing on Balaram. But now Parikshit is really anxious to hear more about Balaram. That's the reference. Parikshit is now requesting, tell me of Balaram's other activities since he is full of all powers. Shukadeva Goswami replies, there was an ape named Dwivida who was a friend of Narakasura. So chapter 59 of Canto 10 describes Krishna's killing of Narakasura, who had 16,100 princesses in prison. So he released them. And to release them, he dealt with Mura demon and then Narakasura demon, and then the young girls were released from prison. And they all wanted to marry. Narakasuras. Because Krishna killed Narakasura, 800 miles south of the southern tip of India, in Lanka. So they had decided, Angada decided, that they should verify two things. Verify that Sita is there, and reassure Sita we're on our way. Ram is coming to redeem you and rescue you. So who's going to get all the way to Lanka? So Angada is asking how far can this monkey jump? How far can that monkey jump? They can't make it. When it came to Dwivida, he declared, I can undoubtedly jump 560 miles. Now how do you measure that one? I don't know. But that's what he writes in Ramayana, Kishkinda Kanda. So his name is specifically mentioned there. And Dwivida's name is also mentioned amongst the demons, associates of Kamsa. This is Canto 10, Chapter 2, the first two verses of Canto 10, Chapter 2. Under the protection of Magadharaja Jarasandha, Kamsa, so Jarasandha and Kamsa were a team. They supported one another. Under the protection of Magadharaja Jarasandha, the powerful Kamsa began persecuting the kings of the Yadu dynasty. In this, he had the cooperation of demons like Pralambabhaka, Chanura, Trinavarta, Aghasura, Mushtaka, Arishta. Dwivida's name is mentioned. Putana, Keshi, Denuka, Banasura, Narakasura, and many other demoniac kings on the surface of the earth. So he's part of Ram's Leela, but he's a demon assisting Kamsa. So how did that happen? It's a good question. How did Dwivida fall from the grace of being an elevated person? The commentators say again and again and again that he made an offense. No, this is my computer, not your system. My computer just decided to take a vacation. I don't know what's going on. So I'll just continue narrating. I just reboot it and see what happens. Where was I? Look at that, it just came back on again. Yeah, when the scene is where you see they're shaking hands, Ram and Sugriva. Standing behind Ram is Lakshman, standing to the side is Hanuman with his club, and then behind there are two other monkeys. That's Maida and Dwivida. So specifically, the offense was at this particular juncture. That is, Dwivida advised Sugriva, don't bother with Lakshman. Give your undivided attention to Ram. And we didn't say what he said, but that was his advice. Give your full undivided attention to Ram without giving due respect to Lakshman. So the Acharyas explained at length, Lakshman in Ram's Leela has many functions like a guru function. Like Balaram has that function in relation to Krishna, Lord Nityananda has that function in relation to Lord Chaitanya, and Lakshman has that function in relation to Ramachandra. So go directly to Ram without paying attention to Lakshman. It's the equivalent of don't pay attention to Guru, pay attention to the Supreme Lord. So for that offense, according to our acharyas, offense has its consequence. And the consequence in his case was he then became a victim of bad association. Otherwise, the Vaishnava that is protected will not fall prey to bad association, but his bad association, the Dwivida's bad association was Narakasura. Narakasura, even before Krishna came, he had it in for Krishna. He just despised Krishna. And Dwivida had become his friend. So he became susceptible to bad association because of his offense. Long ago, offense to Lakshmana. And then from that bad association, anarthas flourished in his heart, and that led to further offenses. This is the principle that our acharyas describe about Dwivida. Here's a little further description. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, though Dwivida was the minister of the great devotee Sugriva and an associate of Lord Ramachandra, he became corrupted by the bad association of Naraka, which caused anarthas to rise in him. This bad association was the reaction of an offense Dwivida had committed when he disrespected Lakshmana due to being proud of his strength. Now their disrespecting Lakshmana due to the pride of his strength came when the Shakti Shela weapon had injured the body of Lakshmana and he was passed out, unconscious on the ground, in great pain. And at that particular time, Dwivida was criticizing him. What kind of hero are you? He was criticizing because he was proud of his, and he was very strong, super strong. The Maida and Dwivida mentioned here, this is the detail, it's an important detail, are actually the eternally liberated devotees addressed as attendant deities during the worship of Lord Ramachandra. So there's a technical term, avarana is the technical term, which means they're of the spirit, the rigid, it's like the fall of Jai and Vijay. That's what's mentioned here in this paragraph. The fall of Jai and Vijay is extraordinary. It's quite unusual. It's the exception, it's not the rule. Similarly, Maida and Dwivida had their angsas or expansions of them appear in this world as the sons of who are the royal physicians?
Kumaras.
Huh?
Ashwini Kumaras?
Ashwini Kumaras, thank you. They were the sons of Ashwini Kumaras. So, their original position before descending to this realm was they're eternally liberated souls from the spiritual world, engaged along with Lord Ramachandra in the worship of Lord Ramachandra. The Lord arranged their degradation to show the evil of bad association that results from offending great personalities. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Thus, the fall down of Dwivida and Minda can be compared to that of Jai and Vijay. You have to turn something off. Got it? So that's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Here's Jiva Goswami. Listen carefully. We're not going to cover this a second time, so you got to catch it the first time. Minda and Dwivida are two forms worshipped as avarana, or covered deities, who worship Ram as Nitya Siddhas, dwelling in the Lord's eternal abode in Vaikuntha. That's where they're from. Some jivas who are endowed with some of the Shakti of eternal associates, like Minda and Dwivida, and are called by the same name, help Ram or other avatars when they appear on earth. That was the reason for their appearing on earth, to assist Ram. And Angsa, a partial expansion of those eternally liberated souls that serve Ram in the spiritual world. These jivas can become corrupted. For example, Dwivida associated with Narakasura, who hated the Lord. This occurs because the mortal jiva Dwivida was mixed with elements of the material world. No, those in the spiritual world are not mixed. No mix, no fall. No, squeaky clean. Everything is eternally in harmony with the will of the Supreme Lord. But the indication here by Jiva Goswami is the Lord wanted to teach the consequence of offending a great personality like Lakshmana. And so to teach that, they became corrupted by that offense. And then through that offense, and the corruption of that offense, bad association, and then further, he became a demon. He became a buddy of Kamsa. Not very good. Although a jiva invested with some of the Nityasiddha's powers, they were still very powerful. One more from Jiva Goswami. The Minda and Dwivida mentioned in this verse are persons endowed with their Shakti, because they did not disrespect Lakshman. Like Jai and Vijay, they appeared as demons in order to show the result of committing offense. So, now we're back to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 67. And Dwivida is in a get-back mood because his buddy, Narakasura, was killed by Krishna. So once Dwivida tore up a number of mountains and used them to devastate all the neighboring kingdoms, especially the province of Anarta. I mentioned that name before. That's the kingdom where Dwivida was making his big mess, and wherein dwells his friend's killer, Lord Hari. So his friend's killer, Lord Hari, is Krishna. So the expanded kingdom from Dwarka extended beyond Dwarka into this further kingdom, the Anarta kingdom. And of course, Ugrasena is the king. Krishna is not the king, but he's like the king because he's the personality of Godhead. Another time, Dwivida, entered the ocean, and with the strength of 10,000 elephants churned up its waters with his arms, and thus submerged the coastal regions. He's a big, powerful guy, and he was proud of his power. The wicked ape tore down trees in the hermitages of exalted sages and contaminated their sacrificial fires with his feces and urine. Notice under his waistband there's some skulls. Interesting guy. Just as a wasp imprisoned smaller insects, he arrogantly threw both men and women into caves in a mountain valley and sealed the cave shut with boulders. Just doing whatever he could to disturb Krishna. Vishnu Purana also speaks of this particular personality, Dwivida, taking a huge form at will, looted and destroyed all the crops in the kingdom by going around and smashing them. Purposefully, to avenge the death of his friend, Narakasura. Once, while Dwivida was engaged in harassing the neighboring kingdoms and polluting women of respectable families, he heard very sweet singing coming from Raivataka mountain. So he went there. I mean, the instrument that he's holding on looks like a, what do you call those? Signal light.
Traffic lights.
Traffic light. Yeah. So it looks like. So what was that noise and singing and so forth is Balaram. There he saw Sri Balaram, the Lord of the Yadus, adorned with a garland of lotuses and appearing most attractive in every limb. He was singing amidst a crowd of young women, including Revati, though later he married Revati. And since he had drunk Varuni liquor, his eyes rolled as if he were intoxicated. His body shone brilliantly as he behaved like an elephant in rut. So I had to look up what elephant in rut means. Apparently there's this substance that appears on the temple of an elephant where they're sexually agitated, and it's a very fragrant smell. So he appeared like an intoxicated elephant, in other words. The mischievous ape climbed a tree branch and then revealed his presence by shaking the trees and making the sound kila kila. I don't know how to do that. If anybody knows how to do that, you can make the sound. When we go to Vrindavan, it's really nice to go to Vrindavan with Dinabandhu because he knows how to make all those sounds. You know, the peacock sound, he can go on for like 5 minutes to making peacock sounds. And the cuckoo bird sounds and different sounds. Very much like what they sound like. He's really gifted. But I don't know if he could do this one. The kila kila sound of a gorilla. When Lord Baladev's consorts saw the ape's impudence, they began to laugh. They were, after all, young girls who were very fond of joking and prone to silliness. Now, Balaram is going to take all this in, and he doesn't take strong action until there's, according to the text, 1,000 offenses. You know, it's something like Krishna and Shishupal. So he knows, Balaram knows Dwivida's past as a devotee. And he must also know his animosity towards Krishna because of Krishna's killing Narakasura. But you know, the girls are laughing and Dwivida doesn't like it. Even as Lord Balaram looked on, Dwivida insulted the girls by making odd gestures with his eyebrows. One can imagine what that was like. coming right in front of them and showing them his anus. Vishwanath writes, he ridiculed the ladies by walking in a funny way, moving his eyebrows, making odd gestures, standing directly in front of them and urinating. He disrespected Balaram by not even glancing at him. So, because he's insulting the girls and insulting him, Balaram, the best of the fighters, hurled a rock at him. Now specifically, commentary says, he didn't throw his club or bash him with his club because Balaram knew of his past as a devotee, so he's just trying to, chase him away. But the cunning ape dodged the rock and grabbed the Lord's pot of liquor, further infuriating Lord Balaram by laughing and by ridiculing him. Wicked Dwivida then broke the pot and offended the Lord even more by pulling at the girl's clothing. Balaram isn't going to tolerate this too much. Thus, the powerful ape, puffed up with false pride, continued to insult Balaram. Lord Balaram saw the ape's rude behavior and thought of the disruptions he had created in the surrounding kingdoms. Thus, the Lord angrily took up his club and plow weapon, having decided to put his enemy to death. Mighty Dwivida also came forward to do battle, uprooting a sal tree. We heard about sal trees, right? Sal tree is a hardwood tree. It's the type of tree that Ram shot arrows through, right? 7 of them. Sal tree. It's like oak or something like that from our perspective. Very hard wood. With one hand, he broke a sal tree, rushed toward Balaram and struck him on the head with the tree trunk. Uh-oh. But Lord Sankarshan remained as motionless as a mountain and simply grabbed the log as it fell upon his head. He then struck Dwivida with his club, named Sunanda. Struck on the skull by the Lord's club, Dwivida became brilliantly decorated by the outpour of blood, like a mountain beautified by red oxide. Ignoring the wound, Dwivida uprooted another tree, stripped it of its leaves by brute force, and struck the Lord again. Now, enraged, Lord Balaram shattered the tree into hundreds of pieces, upon which Dwivida grabbed yet another tree and furiously hit the Lord again. This tree too the Lord smashed into 100 pieces. There's the Lord with his picking up the tree and smashing it. Thus, fighting the Lord, who had again and again demolished the trees he was attacked with, Dwivida kept uprooting trees from all sides until the forest was left treeless. The angry ape then released a rain of stones upon Lord Balaram, but the wielder of the club easily pulverized them all. It's a battle. Dwivida, the most powerful of eight, because he's proud of his strength. It was one of the reasons why the whole problem started. Proud of his super. He now cleanses this at the end of his with his bare hands, hammered a blow upon Dwivida's collarbone. The ape collapsed, vomiting blood. BBT painting. There's the Raivataka mountains in the background and the little pieces of trees lying here and there. This is Gopal Champu. Some of you know what Gopal Champu is? I'll describe a little bit what Gopal Champu is. Gopal Champu is a very interesting book written by Jiva Goswami, and its style is two brothers, Snigdhakanta and Madhukanta. One of them asks questions, the other gives answers. What happened next? What happened next? Kind of questions. Did you really say that? What was the response? So understanding that Dwivida, that's who those two fellows are on the left, by the way. Snigdhakanta and Madhukanta. Understanding that Dwivida was an associate of Ram, Balaram tolerated everything. When Dwivida showed impudence 1,000 times, Balaram killed him. Though he killed him, I think he was merciful, for he liberated him from his various offenses. That's Madhukanta answering Snigdhakanta. When he fell, O tiger among the Kurus, so this is Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. Raivataka mountain shook along with its cliffs and trees like a wind-tossed boat at sea. So this fellow was really, really big, besides really powerful, and when he fell, it was a big crash. So now Balaram has his plow again in his hand. Later, Balaram married Revati, who was the daughter of King Raivata, apparently after whom the Raivataka mountains were named. Also known as Kukudmi, ruler of Anarta province, which is very near to Dwarka. Raivataka mountain was within King Raivata's province. So its little pieces are fitting together. Dwivida was in this area because he understood it would be a big disturbance for Krishna. So harassing people and flooding the coastal waters and burning crops and molesting ladies and doing all of this, putting people in caves. So one of the things that Balaram is going to do is free the people from the caves. In the heavens, the demigods, perfect mystics, and great sages cried out, "Victory to you! Obeisances to you! Excellence well done!" Because Dwivida was a nemesis, she was a big problem. So elevated souls are very relieved when such a person is finished. He showered flowers upon the Lord. Having killed Dwivida, who had disturbed the whole world, the Supreme Lord freed the people imprisoned by Dwivida in the valleys and caves and returned to his capital, that means Dwarka, as the people along the way chanted his glories. So that's pretty much the chapter. Then there's this nice section describing what happened to Dwivida. And then there's the story of Minda, but this is about Dwivida. All demoniac personalities like Pralamba, Denaka, Baka, Keshi, Arishta, Chanram, Mushtika, Kovalya, Pita, Elephant, Kamsa, Yavana, Narakasura, and Tondraka. Great marshals like Shalva, Dwivida, monkey or gorilla, and Balvala, Dantavakra, the seven bulls, Shambhara, Vidurata, and Rukmi, as well as great warriors like Kambhoja, Matsya, Kuru, Srinjaya, Kekaya, would all fight vigorously, either with Lord Hari directly or with him under his names of Balaram, Arjuna, Bhima, etc. And the demons, thus being killed, would attain either impersonal Brahmajyoti, or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha planets. This is directly a statement from Canto 2, Srimad Bhagavatam. And one more. This is a reference from, there's some prayers that are found in they're found in Garga Samhita. And there's stotras or prayers glorifying him. This is number 7 out of 12. Dwivida Prahari is mentioned. May Lord Balaram, this is all glorifying Balaram, who is the enemy of Dhenukasura, protect me from lust. May Lord Balaram, who killed Dwivida, always protect me from anger. May Lord Balaram, who is the enemy of Balabala, always protect me from greed. May Lord Balaram, who is an enemy of Jarasandha, always protect me from illusion. So this is a kavacha, just like, the Shringa kavacha. Ugram, Vira, Mahavishnu, etc. Very celebrated prayer for protection. So kavacha means shield. So it's prayer to Balaram that he can help us overcome obstacles on the path of bhakti and help us, that is like this reference at the very beginning, get to the stage of self-realization with the spiritual strength necessary to get there. Which one of us is strong enough to get there but by ourselves? No way. But with Balaram's strength and protection, then there's this nice opportunity. So this Balaram Stotra Kavacha is a nice. Did you receive that message I sent you? I'm going to send you another one. And you can circulate the other one. The other one is this Balabhadra Stotra Kavacha. Nice prayers from Garga Samhita. So that's the end of this discussion on Lord Balaram and Lord Balaram's dealing with the Dwivida gorilla. Many of you have seen pictures, if you haven't been there, Krishna Balaram deities in Vrindavan. Very interesting backdrop, huh? Looked like a spring season event. So Balaram is a source of spiritual strength. And he assists Krishna in all ways, just like the discussion this afternoon. Balaram went to Vrindavan when he knew why Krishna couldn't go or didn't go to Vrindavan. There's two main explanations. I'll repeat from this afternoon in case you weren't with us. The members of the Yadu dynasty impeded Krishna from going because they knew how much affinity that Krishna has for the residents of Vrindavan. If Krishna goes to Vrindavan, we never see him again. So, in their own way, plus Vasudeva and Devaki wouldn't give their permission for him to go. Without the permission, he's not going to go. He didn't go. The second reason is the more common reason. That's described right in the Bhagavatam itself. The more common reason is Krishna understood from the time that he left Mathura, there were many persons who were remaining demons in this world. And the remaining demons in this world, if Krishna went back to Vrindavan, they would know his affinity for the resident of Vrindavan. They would harass the people in Vrindavan. Krishna didn't want that, so he didn't go until the last demon was killed. And when the last demon was killed, he went. That's not found in the Bhagavatam, but it's found in other Vaishnava texts. Krishna spent time in Vrindavan with the Brijvasis, all of them. They covered boys, the gopis, and the gopas, the elders, fulfilling and satisfying their need, because he promised he would come, and he came. But the circumstances were postponed. There's a third reason, and that's the reason. There's more reasons. The third reason was the feelings of love and separation were being facilitated by his not returning right away, but he did come. Okay, so let's see if there's some discussion. I'm going to compliment this mother. You're managing to keep this little girl who is so animated, reasonably peaceful. I don't know how you must have nerves of steel or something, a heart of butter. But she seems to be okay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Shri Maharaj, and thank you for the wonderful class. I have two questions. They're probably connected, but my first question being, and I think you covered a little bit in the Balaram Stotra Kavacham, but what would be the practical tips you would give anyone to protect oneself against committing offenses to Vaishnavas?
Offenses towards
Vaishnavas.
Well, it's not exactly the strength of Balaram. It's, you don't touch fire because fire burns. Balaram isn't going to protect you from touching fire. You touch fire, it burns. So it's knowing, however one knows, primarily by hearing, but you touch fire and it burns. Scripture is not at all unclear. The authorities that guide one in applying the scriptures in life, they're equally clear. So it's the wise avoid offense. Now, supposing inadvertently something is done, then we know what Krishna says about that. You know what Krishna says about that? Yes, you do. When Krishna says two verses in Bhagavad Gita, even if someone makes a mistake, Krishna considers them a sadhu, unless the mistake is intentional. And the unintentional mistake, the second verse, Krishna corrects the mistake. He cleans up. He's the janitor. He cleans up the mess and makes the correction of the heart of the person that made that mistake. So don't put your hand in fire because it burns. And if there is a burn, you do the necessary remedy, and then don't put your hand in fire again. So it's not exactly it's intelligence more than spiritual strength, being properly guided. So one can say, just staying under the guidance of Guru Tattva, Guru or the representative of Guru Tattva is Guru, who is representing Balaram. In that sense, the strength of Balaram is there through the instruction. But that's the answer to your question. My answer to your question.
Thank you, Maharaj. I think in connection, I have another question. So, when you were narrating the whole pastime, I was reflecting that sometimes we have to choose our associations too, because the fall down of Dwivida happened.
I can hear you.
because of two reasons.
You're okay.
So the fall down of Dwivida happened because of two reasons. Firstly, he offended a senior Vaishnava,
Lakshmana.
and secondly, because he was in a wrong association.
Well, that's not. One was the wrong association was a consequence of the offense. His spiritual strength had become weakened because of the offense. And because of that offense, he became susceptible to bad association. Supposing, like Prabhupada, he had unwholesome people that he came to give his association to, that he wasn't affected by it. But if somebody is an offensive, proud individual, like Dwivida and Minda were, then you can offend elevated persons. In this case, Lakshman. And specifically, the representative Ram is Lakshman. The representative of Krishna is Guru. So Lakshman is representing that Guru principle. And he offended him. Then that brought a reaction. The reaction was susceptible to bad association. So that's the two.
Okay, so Maharaj, my question was, sometimes we choose, I can definitely talk for myself, and this is a struggle that I have sometimes, where I choose a certain association or I avoid a certain association because I feel it may not be supportive to my spiritual growth.
Okay.
But
That's
where
great.
it gets conflicting is, as practicing devotees, we also have to practice the virtue of compassion.
Yeah.
So I am not able to reconcile the two.
Oh, it's easy. Start with compassion to yourself. Compassion to others without being compassionate to yourself, what's that? Foolishness. So it's not a contradiction. Being discriminating doesn't mean you're snotty or you look in a condescending manner upon others. That's not what it means. And compassion doesn't mean you embrace a tiger. Discrimination is operative at all times for persons who are compassionate. Here's a nice example. It's a scriptural example. One of the examples given by the Sri Vaishnavacharyas why Ram sent Sita away, even when she was pregnant, etc., was Ram. A consideration, not the consideration, was this place is not a fit place for Sita. She shouldn't be subject to this kind of vilification. What to speak of when the children are born and the children hear the vilification of their mother, they should be subjected to that. So he chose, that's not the only reason. There's like 7 reasons. But when you make a choice, it's not necessarily, snobby or snobism. It's, what's best. So what's best for, in selecting association, we show compassion by what method? Sometimes compassion is shown by neglect. You can be kind to everyone, but you don't embrace everyone. The kindness isn't always in the embrace. So commensurate with the individual, you're compassionate, starting with self.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Anukoyasha sankalpa. The verse. There's 6 characteristics of surrender. The first 2 are those 2: accepting things favorable, rejecting things unfavorable. That doesn't mean when you reject things unfavorable, it doesn't mean you're failing in the compassion category of of life. You're following an important principle of surrender to Krishna. So the avoiding unwholesome association is part of your surrender to Krishna as much as compassion is. So your compassion might be XYZ. You might make arrangements remotely for their welfare, pray for their welfare, see that they get prasadam or something or something or something or something or something without the warm embrace. Kind of compassion. Anything else?
Let's speak now. Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. So my question is, I can look at this fast in two different ways. One is, I do not know whether Dwivida's actions towards Lord Lakshman was out of ignorance or out of ego. Like, if it was out of ignorance, then shouldn't he have been forgiven in some ways because it was based on ignorance? And if it is because of ego, then why did he in fact get delivered by Lord Baldev when he was killed by Lord Baldev?
Well, let's go back. Take 3 giant steps back. According to Jiva Goswami, why did all of this happen to begin with, before it happened? And the Lord wanted to teach a lesson. So the flow of events happened the way that the events happened because the Lord wanted to teach a lesson. And sure enough, he taught the lesson. So then if you want to add it to the Lord's plan, you can go ahead. But, it was his plan, and the plan unfolded according to his plan. So the offense, whether it was out of ignorance or ego, is not really what the issue is. It's a nice question. The explanation was pride, not exactly ego, but pride. He was proud of his strength, and therefore disrespectful, explicitly disrespectful to the representative Ramachandra. Don't pay attention to the representative. Pay attention to the person. I mean, that's not good manners, but it's disrespectful. And you disrespect the wrong persons, and you've got a big problem. But it arose from pride. Not that he didn't know better, he just proud. And pride blocks the intelligence.
Krishna, thank you very much. I have a question about, I think the end you mentioned that whoever was killed by Lord Hari, or in the name of Lord Hari, in this case, Balaram, why weren't they liberated in terms of they attend, Brahma Jyoti, or you said Vaikuntha Planet? The offense was.
You want to know why?
Why was it? Right.
Because they're all purified. You put an iron rod in fire, it becomes fire. Because they're all purified. And or the instrument of, acting on behalf of, so Balaram and Krishna, or those acting on behalf of Balaram, so the instrument of, explicitly, they didn't do something other than the interest of Krishna. So it's the all-purifying power of the deliverer.
Imagine something mentioned at the beginning of self-realization. I was trying to connect the dots. Can you
go ahead?
You started the topic with the self-realization something.
Yes, you want to hear it again?
Yeah, I was not able to connect the whole.
Okay. At the very beginning, it was purposeful at the very beginning.
Thank you.
This is Krishna book, chapter 2. You can look it up later if you like. Prabhupada writes about self-realization. That's, human life's mission. Without the mercy of Balaram, self-realization isn't going to happen. Then positive. For self-realization to happen, one needs the mercy of Balaram. Then he explains, Balaram doesn't just mean physical strength, it means spiritual strength. So it have to be spiritual strength along with anyone's endeavor for self-realization. So get the mercy Balaram. That's it.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj, for this wonderful glorification of Balaram. I I'm just wondering, how do we make this connection of Krishna killing so many demons and Balaram's demons, killing of demons, with our current scenario, with the current, I guess, walls in that scenario? Because to a person who doesn't have as much faith in Lord Balaram or Lord Krishna or Ram, these sound like just stories or some kind of fairy tales. God killed this demon, and
Okay.
that's it. Just wondering.
Well, people may, certainly some people think like that. So you want to know how to respond to the silly? That they're not, it's like the sun is shining and you're hiding under a rock. And say, because there's no sunshine, you're hiding under a rock. When transcendental is blocked by the kind of ignorance and all the derivatives of ignorance, like this example of pride blocks, or real knowledge. Even in direct association with Ramachandra, his pride was so strong because he was so powerful. So when it's just a fairy tale, people say those kinds of things. That's their heart's disposition. They have faith in something else. They have faith in whatever that something else is. And to them, that's real. And from the devotee, that's illusion. And there's varieties of illusion. So that one of the varieties you mentioned. And there's other varieties. Now, what to do, that's why, then what to do. You smile. And try three things. Try your best to be an exemplary individual with good quality and good character, because that speaks volumes. While people around them are not devotees, they have all kinds of other qualities, then our opportunity to help those persons, those are just fairy tale kind of people, by being exemplary individuals. And then the second is, according to the circumstance, make the opportunity to hear or receive. So the prachar part. The first is achar, the second is prachar. We speak and we broadcast the message. Like, for example, the second verse of the canto, chapter 1, Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for bringing darkness and light into this dark age of Kali. And it propounds the reality, the illusion. So propagating Srimad Bhagavatam and its message can help all people, not just it's just fiction and fantasy, illusion, fairy tales kind of representation. Make light of the widely broadcast. In other words, there's always going to be materialistic atheist people, but the more consciousness is propagated, the more it becomes, it impacts the entire society. So what is any one of us going to do? We can't do too much, but collectively we can do a lot. That's the organization the Sangha of Vaishnavas putting forward both the teachings and let's just say the public broadcasting of the holy name, and just continue doing that, because that can help the naysayer people become elevated just by the presence of spiritual sound vibration and the impact that has upon the hearts and the lives of the world. That's again and again the mission. Prabhupada would say is the mission of Krishna consciousness. And Shiva Prasad. Everyone likes Prasad. I mean, most people like Prasad. Some people are disrespectful even. Let me tell a little story, then I think we'll end. When I was in undergraduate school, considering possible graduate schools, one of the places I wanted to visit was Boston, because there's a lot of good universities in Boston. While in Boston, I visited the temple. There's details and details. I was with three friends, and they had some friends in Boston, and I was given a room way in the back of this loft that they stayed in. And on the windowsill was a little Jagannath, little rooms. So I said, and I showed up to the temple. I hadn't planned the temple, but when I went to the temple, there's details and details, but it was a very special event. It was Brahmananda had been with Prabhupada for a long time, several months. He just came back. The kirtan that evening was out of this world, and I hadn't ever met Brahmananda before, and he says this big body and had this little lectern about that big, and it's like a cartoon. Beaming, this radiant, telling Prabhupada story after Prabhupada story after Prabhupada story after Prabhupada story. The room was filled with laughter and joy, and it was like intoxicating with joyfulness. And there was other things and other things and other things. So when it came, the events happened on the other end of my life back at the university. I decided I wanted to jump in the pool. Like not just read about, but live a life of devotion. Take a plunge in the pool and swim around and see what it's like. So Boston was the place. And a whole series of other events, but the one story that's just like the background. I was a new guy with, hair and dungarees and, with dhoti, just like everybody else. And the place where we performed Sankirtan every day, it was a rule. Everybody went on Harinam Sankirtan for at least an hour. Everybody. The cooks, the pot washers, the pujaris, the ISKCON that it was, before BBT. They all went out on Harinam. And big and many people came around, and that was our opportunity to distribute an invitation to the temple and back to guided meditation. That's all we had at that time. And the system was, again, an hour, and then inside we would distribute. And there was a changeover. The people chanting went out, people went there. So I was in the first group, and then it was go out group. So here's my stack of Back to Guided magazines. This really weird looking fellow that rocked back and forth like this. He was like mad. He was a crazy fellow. Hunched over, distorted features of his face, slender. Anyway, it's a kind of spooky guy. And so I was just going around in the crowd, inviting people, here's a card, Christian movement, here's our magazine, please take one. So he came, he spotted me because I'm a new guy, and he went zooming over the first time someone took the magazine. He snatched the magazine from their hand, he threw it on the ground and started jumping up and down in the magazine, saying, don't do this, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I didn't hear it because he was just mad. I was kind of spooked. And that lasted for the whole summer. Every day, weekdays, we went to a different spot on weekends, but on weekdays, it was always the same spot, and he was always there. And by the end of the summer, the same fellow was crazy, but he just did 180. When I was approaching people, he raised his voice and speak in the same, weird tone. Take this magazine, it's very good, it's good for you. Take two magazines, bring one to your friend. With the same madness. But he became completely transformed by Harino. I didn't see him taking prasadam, but it was just he the holy name every day for 1 hour. During his lunch hour, he got rest us. Then went back to work or whatever he did. So it transformed. Crazy fellow, so crazy, but crazy for Krishna, I guess. I don't know what happened after that. Went to New York from. It's effective. We didn't go specifically with the purpose in mind. Let's transform crazy people. But that's part of what happened. Propagate. Achar and prachar and prashad. It can change. Not everyone's going to change, but some people change. Okay, we'll end. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada.